Adriana Marina has built a thriving Skool community where she helps multi-passionate entrepreneurs create brands without niching down. In this video, I talk with Adriana about why the traditional advice of niching down can actually do more harm than good.
People don't understand. It's like, I need to focus on this one thing, and this is how I get faster or quicker results, but it's not sustainable.
And why authenticity is your greatest advantage when building your online brand.
There is no brand being built by you trying to put yourself into a box. This inauthenticity is what people feel. Do we need another Instagram guru? I don't think so.
Adriana, super cool to meet you today. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
So you have a community that seems to be growing really super fast, and it looks like you're focused on something really unusual from what I'm seeing, and that's helping people create a brand that's not focused on niching down. Like, what is that all about?
Yeah. So I'm working with multi-passionates for more than 5 years now, and not knowing that I had ADHD. So I got diagnosed in 2023, officially, self-diagnosed in 2022. And since then, even earlier, I knew that I was always different and somewhat was different to what other people were doing. My friends were like doing athletics, playing football or soccer or whatnot. And I was like doing kickboxing and dancing and inline skating, riding the horse. I did like all the things like uni hockey. And I was jumping from one hobby to another. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I felt like I was the only one doing all these things. Again, I have no idea. I thought people with ADHD are those wanting, or seeking attention, not actually them, having lack of attention. And that's kind of like how I've built up this community, multi-passionates, first in German, then in English. And I played around a lot with different business models prior, from Amazon FBA to Etsy to I don't know what. And I came up with some things like, it's not really about picking one niche. Everyone then was talking about pick one thing, and this is the only way on how you can be successful. And everything that people say now and become more aware of is what I already realized a couple of years ago. It's like, it's not really about that. And if we look at those people who really made it in life, most of them, by the way, have ADHD. I think you could count the people without ADHD on one hand, probably. But besides that, it's not that they do one thing. It's just that they combine the passions. And so in that modern society, we basically embrace and monetize our multitude by combining everything into one offer. But it's about having a clear communication.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm curious about what happens if people are shifting their passions, because I imagine that there's a lot of shifting going on, changing from one idea to the next. Like, how do you build momentum when things are always changing like that?
Documentation. So if you document, you take for instance, I have still people from back then when I was speaking German, right? And they're still following me through my now English journey, so it's like, build the audience directly that are attached to your persona, and from there you will build more like a club, like a movement, and then they will follow you from there as well. And regardless of what you're doing, if I would come up with a fashion brand tomorrow, people would buy it because it's a part of my journey. I'm a fashion designer, right? And if I come up with something, people are attached not to my niche, but to what I'm all about. So that's really that.
That makes sense. I've heard a lot of advice, like you need to niche down for the algorithms in order for, the data, in order for it to understand who you are, who to serve your content to. Like, how does that work in the early stages of a creator's journey when, nobody really knows who they are? Like, how would that work?
So obviously, yes, the algorithm back then, SEO, now it's probably AI, finding you on the internet. But if you talk about various topics combined and to a specific audience, I mean, you will grow a little bit slower. But here's the thing, what I believe, and it's also what I tested. I tested focusing on this one audience with this one product, or like one niche. But the problem is that what happens is you see momentum, but you will, always jump back and back again and back again because you're not passionate. And if you are multi-passionate and it's not complete, you feel incomplete. It's like I'm taking one leg of you and I'm telling you, like, run a marathon. It's impossible. You have to combine it, because else you will never really see the momentum. You need to have this this combination of things. And that's what many people don't understand, is like, I need to focus on this one thing, and this is how ultimately I get faster or quicker results, but it's not sustainable. So at some point you will fall off the cliff. And so if you really want to see something that is long lasting, and you want to leave your fingerprint on this planet, then I think it's about combining it rather than picking one thing. And this is how you will see more success over time.
I'm curious. Okay, so I'm just going to dive into it. My own personal story is that I've shifted many, many times in my life through different artistic projects. I've done music, I've done a puppet show for kids, I've done podcasting, I've done a lot of social school for introverted men, like lots of different things. And I found that when I pivoted, there was a really kind of sharp pivot, and I wasn't able to carry those audiences across my journey. Are your clients people like that, or are they already doing many things at the same time?
Yes, there are actually those who feel like they have to do one thing, and this is how they get stuck. So they're like, I'm a photographer, and now I feel like I have to sell photography only, and that's what I have to do. And then they're like, no, wait, but I am also an artist. No, wait, I also love business and talking about business, and it's like, but if I don't do that, everyone says I can't, get successful. And so, yeah, it's a common thing. It's like, document this, like, there is no brand being built by you trying to put yourself into a box. This inauthenticity is what people feel. And so the moment I shared, like before, it was always like, do one thing. Like, what are you all about? Like, can't you just do one thing? Like, while I was studying, right? I was studying fashion textile management, but I was also doing journalism, and I was working as a curvy model. And then I was also, for a fashion brand, a social media manager. And like, I was doing all those things, and I loved it. And I was like really embracing it. And then that was the first time in my life where it really hit hard. It was like, do one thing. Like, what are you doing? Basically, at some point, I got a bit less confident because people were like, what are you doing? I felt like, okay, now I have to focus. And then I was like, no, I'm proud. I'm unapologetic. I'm who I am. And I started celebrating it on Instagram. I went live, and I was doing all the things, and I was showing it, and I was sharing the behind the scenes. And this is how people started seeing me as a role model and saying like, I also want to do all these things. Like, this is amazing. You're so inspiring. And now I'm getting like, Instagram comments under my post. Like, I feel finally seen and heard. This is the number one thing I get on my comments and my DMs every single day. It's like, finally, I feel seen and heard. And so you trying to be perfect leads to inauthenticity, and also not really the trust. It's like, no one is perfect. And this whole, do we need another Instagram guru? I don't think so. Like, what are your flaws? And I once had a client, she was talking about her passion for expensive food, and she was sharing that she was eating oysters. And there was someone who kind of like unfollowed and then kind of followed again. And then she booked a 12K coaching because she also eats oysters. That was the connection part. She was admitting that, yes, I love expensive food, and my husband hates this about me. I'm too much for him, right? But that client was resonating with the part that she also eats oysters, and that her husband also doesn't like that she's eating such an expensive food. So I think it's from the pivot part, it's like, there shouldn't be a pivot part. I think it's like, document. You like doing music, share that, right? You love doing, what was the other things you're passionate about? It's music, it's art.
Oh yeah, I did a puppet show at one point.
Cool.
That's the thing that's still kind of with me. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's a story you should tell because it's a part of you. And so many people will resonate with this.
So what I'm hearing a lot about is showing up and sharing kind of the behind the scenes stuff. And so I'm curious about that part, because again, a lot of the kind of advice that we get about creating content, which is how we are connecting with people primarily, it's by educating, and it's by giving them value through some type of, transformation, education. So how much of your content, how much of what you're creating is you behind the scenes, and how much of it is like, here's what you have to do, to build a multi-passionate brand?
I think it's before it was more educative, and now it's
Mm,
more and more of a documentation, and that's what clicks more. So, for instance, even my community now, I always have an issue with boundaries because I have ADHD. I'm a people pleaser, or ex
mm,
people pleaser at least, or still like I just recently had this issue again of people pleasing. I give, and people take. So I train them. So I was like, boundaries. I need to set up boundaries. So I came up with an entire Notion operational system only for how you call it, for setting boundaries, right?
mm,
And I came up with ChatGPT prompts, and I walked through this myself, and I was like, I need to record this, and I set up a Loom, and I walked my people through this, and it became an entire online course. So that's how I
mm,
create content in my community. I create something for myself, or for instance, going through a rebirth era this year. I'm going on a treadmill. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. now. I'm doing meal prepping.
mm,
I'm laying out my clothes every morning now, and I'm literally documenting. I'm putting out photos, the links to the meal boxes, everything is in that community, and they're growing with me, and they love
mm,
that. And so that's also what I do on Instagram. So now I came up with an Instagram series which is called a multi-passionaire, so kind of like
mm,
millionaire multi-passionaire, sharing how I'm growing my community to 1,000 members by the end of this year. So yeah,
mm,
let's see how we reach that goal. So, but yeah, it's more documentation, and in that documentation, I share the lessons. So, for instance, my Facebook ad account got blocked or deactivated. I shared that this is something that is not unusual, but I shared
mm,
my fear and what popped up in my thoughts and all these things. And then I also shared, like, don't rely just on Facebook ads, which I did since the beginning of this year. So it wasn't
mm,
really so active on organic content, but it's like really the balance. And that's kind of like my story and my learning for myself, sharing with them. So yeah,
mm.
I always try
There's a
to.
couple there's a couple different threads that I'm hearing here that I'm kind of torn of which one to pull. One of them, I'm curious about your growth and how you're exploring that, how you're building your community. And the other thread that I'm thinking of when I'm hearing this is about the authenticity piece. And maybe let's just talk a bit more about the authenticity thing, because I know that this is something that everybody's talking about on the internet. And it's like, we got to be authentic. That's what people resonate with. But for some reason, it's still really hard to do. Like, is this something that you think takes practice, or are people natural at it? Like, how does that work?
I think it's all about confidence.
Mm,
I think it's more about understanding. Like, this is how it started for me. I started reading more books about sleep because that was an issue I had. I was confidence, how to communicate, how to defend yourself, all these things, and that built up my confidence. Even now with this boundaries, even understanding that I have ADHD changed so much for me. And so it's really like getting to know myself more and more and more, understanding PMS. Now that I had my son, things have changed, right? And
mm,
so I think it's if you show up for yourself first, even if in your family or whatnot, you can show up more for other people, and then you feel
mm,
way more entitled sharing your story online. But if you feel ashamed of certain things, you won't feel like sharing your face or your story. And this is, I think, where everything starts.
that makes sense. Yeah. So it's a long journey, I guess, then, of learning
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Well, I'm curious then, let's shift and talk about the model that you have for your community. Because when I
Mhm.
looked at it, the first thing that I saw was like, this person's doing it in the right way. They have 300 plus members at a $7 a month price point, which I'm like, this reminds me of Evelyn Weiss when she did her community. Um, it's I imagine the temptation to raise the price must be really high. Why do you keep it at $7 right now?
So I don't even know where to start from there, but like at the beginning of this year, I launched this community for the 10th time because I'm on Skool now for over 1.5 years. And since then, I
Mm,
started them for free. And I got like 100 members with each of them almost. And like,
oh,
there's no
wow.
engagement. Like every time I was playing with ads, I get to know the ads. I was investing and playing and with organic content. I was really testing things out. And when I always hit between 100 members and 150 members, people were leaving and I was not understanding. I was like, why would you leave a free community with value and like something that is so like, I wish this would have been there when I started. I did not understand that part.
Mm,
And so by the end of last year, I was like, I need to make this work. This is my dream. I need this
mm,
community to work. And so I started again. And this time I made it paid $27 and $270 a year. And I started with workshops. And it worked well. And I had a lot of them, I think over 50% subscribing to the yearly version because I had kind of like price plans. So I said the people in the lower tier will get this, and the people in the yearly tier would get that. And that was
mm,
amazing. And I got up to 19 members, I believe. But then I was like, why is no one active? They're paying for it. So I had the same issue again.
mm,
And then I was like, I think it's a numbers game. Okay, it's a numbers game. I need more eyeballs on my
mm.
about page and I need more people in my community. And by the way, my first community, I launched it in 2017. So, since then, I'm
Okay.
trying different things and also paused that project. But I was like, it needs to be a numbers game. And so I turned the community free
Mm,
from paid to free.
right.
That was crazy scary.
Scary.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
told my members very openly. And they were very in understanding because I showed my very vulnerable side of why I'm doing this.
Mm,
Um, and then with 300 members, I turned it paid.
mm,
Yeah, into
right.
$7. And soon they will roll out subscription tiers. We will then have a second tier. But now we have
Uh,
momentum going. We have member of the month. We have it's cool. It becomes more a thing. But if we're growing even further, there will be even more of the movement that I'm looking for. So
yeah.
yeah, I think people are giving up too fast, as I did.
That makes sense. I feel like I can relate a bit when maybe it's a bit similar. When I was doing my video editing thing, I decided to give people monthly YouTube videos and the price was at 29. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I guess the people who are there are just going to keep getting this value. And like, it's not really profitable, but it ended up being the thing that got me that reliable base, that reliable
Mhm.
foundation. Are your members who are in it at that earlier price, are they still paying that price? Did you switch them to free and reinvite them?
No, they're just there. And I told them that everything I will do that was paid future wise, they would get it for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that you're like super excited about in terms of your community right now that you're building? Like what's next on the horizon for you?
Yes, I'm so excited. So I'm currently working on a magazine, like an actual website. I paused that project. I started it last year, and then I paused it. So it's kind of like targeting multi-passionates, and it should become more of a resource hub. Um,
Mm,
and of course, having the second tier for the community, that those who kind of like want to combine and monetize it. So this is where I would share my process on how I created my one-on-one coaching back then, because you can, create high-ticket clients without doing much. Back then, I had
mm.
like 50 Instagram story views, and I launched or relaunched my one-on-one program, and I made 30K in just 2 weeks just by
Wow.
changing my messaging. And I did not announce it anywhere else, just in my Instagram story and through the storytelling. So I
Mm,
definitely want to share this part with them. And I'm a fashion designer, so I have some ideas from my ADHD folks that I would like to dive deeper on. So yeah, maybe something in that
cool.
direction. Yeah.
Mm. I'm also wondering, so for people who are listening to this and maybe they have ADHD or maybe they just are interested in a lot of different things and they keep hearing this advice about niching down, do you have any advice for them about how they could start that, figuring that out?
Yeah, I think it's finding the person you want to work with. So for
Mm,
me, when I was 14, I knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. Um, because I was inspired by my mom. She's like workaholic and she's like hustling hard. And she raised me alone because she had to. And she was making it able for her to, or for me to be on a private fashion school later. And that was making me so proud. Um, that it was crazy. Like, I was like, this is inspiring. And even before I went to fashion school, she was so inspiring to me. And
mm,
this started the whole women being ambitious and passionate and serving them. was always something that I was interested in. And so when I graduated from fashion school, I knew I wanted to serve them, but I always was trying to find um, what kind of women, because like women what, like, you know. So I kind of felt like, obviously your client persona is most of the time is within you. So I think if it's
Mm,
too far from who you are, I think it's also not authentic. You have to also speak their
yeah.
language. And I knew I want to talk to people like me. So now I have like psychologists, interior designer, architects, people having their doctor titles, MBA, I don't know what. They're all in my community being passionate about this, right? Lawyers and whatnot, doing now art. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And that's exactly what I want. I want exactly this particular woman to like supporting
Mm,
this particular woman. So um, I think it's finding the person you want to work with and then serving holistically.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. One of the first advice I would give to anybody who's trying to start down this journey of being a community owner or even an entrepreneur is to find a good mentor because it can make all the difference.
Yes, for
Mm,
sure. A good mentor is gold. Absolute gold. I also had an accountability partner back then, and that was also giving me a lot of focus. And having a coach is really important. Yeah, I don't
mm.
think you can do it alone, to be honest.
Cool. I feel like I feel like asking you one more question, and I'll probably
Mhm.
cut this part out because I'm actually not sure what the question is that I want to ask you, but I feel like I want to ask you one more question before we go. Do you have anything that you're really, I don't know, that you want to share that you feel like isn't being shared enough on Skool, like people who are community builders and you just want to let them know something?
Hmm. Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, doesn't share it about a lot. I think there are people talking or listening too often to people that haven't walked the talk.
Mm,
And I also feel like, secondly, that people listen to people that are way too far in the journey. I'm sorry
mm,
to say, but like someone who made like 1 million a month 5 years ago and still teaching the same strategy on how to get there. I don't think in this how fast the world right now,
yeah,
like how fast the world is right now, I don't think this is something that we can listen to today anymore, to be honest. If it's someone that did it in the past 2 years, yes. But even
yeah,
5 years these days is just like if you started 3 years ago with AI and you made your millions, I mean, this is, you know what I mean? Like this is too far
no,
away. So I think that's something. It's like being more conscious of who you're talking to or listening to or following or, seeking for advice. I think the gold mine is often in those who aren't too far in their journey and looking a bit more closer rather than overhyping on someone that is already whoever, So yeah.
yeah. I feel that. I think that's amazing advice. I would second that and I would third that because I see that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right?
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
No, you have to answer this question now too.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
go.
Let's go. I feel like you should answer what no one is really talking about.
Oh, the same question. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
of
Okay.
course.
I might have to just wait and see if I actually have an answer here. Your answer was so good. I genuinely like I think that we look to the people who are making the most money because that's where we think that we want to be.
Mhm.
But, and sometimes they are, sometimes those people are the ones who have the right information for us because especially if they've worked with a lot of different people at a lot of different levels, then yes, they can be the right people. But yeah, there is a lot of noise. And so finding somebody that you really connect with. And I think also like I think value alignment is really important too. It's not just about whether they've succeeded at building something that you want to build. I think it's also like, have they succeeded at building it in the way that you want to build it? That's extremely important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so beautiful. I love that you said that because that's also what I noticed often that I would be like interested or being like, wow, this person did that or that. But like the way the person did it or the actual business model is something I
Yeah.
find it and also nothing that I want to have. Like sometimes I see this podcast about people I don't know, shipping out products from the house and like having everything stocked. And it's like, wow, this is so amazing, nice story. But like, do I want this? Like,
Yeah.
do I really want this kind of business? Or is it just inspiring? Right? I love that. Yeah. Agree.
Cool. I'm hoping that we'll continue this conversation. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much. It was fun.